it is a topic that transcends. It's impactful and meaningful to every single person who listens to it. I have to say, when it comes to leadership, you know, how would you point out to someone when you're sitting there and this is someone that you hold in high esteem and they're talking with weak language? How do you point that out to them in a way that's for them to hear that without embarrassment,
Right.
as but for them to understand and to grow from that?
Right. So one, obviously don't do it in front of other people. So my colleague that I told you about when we were in that strategy meeting, we had a break and I said to her, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm noticing. And she was shocked. She was mortified. And Sarah, if you met her, you would not think she would ever use weak language. She's so powerful and engaging. And so we decided, I was sitting next to her in this conference room and I said, every time you open your mouth, I'm going to flick you. And that'll be that you don't use weak language. And I ended up probably spending more time paying attention to her than the conversation. But it worked, and she still talks about it years later.
Wow.
Yeah, when you flicked me, I ended up having a bruise there because it was so often. But if you're working with someone, a colleague, I would, after the fact, don't wait too long. Like I kind of use the 48-hour rule, but to say, hey, I noticed this in the meeting. And when you do this, you're putting yourself in this one down position. And I know you don't intend to. And then, of course, you can give them the link to my TED Talk, and then they can watch it. That's a resource. But I think if you deliver that feedback with the sense of, I'm invested in you, and here's a little golden nugget, most people don't recognize that they're doing it.
Right.
And the other thing that I have loved and shared with a lot of people, it's a minute and a half, if that, Pantene commercial from years ago. And if you go to YouTube and type in "sorry, not sorry," it'll come up. And it shows sort of the first half is all the ways women apologize. Like in a waiting room and you have your elbows out, on the arm or on a plane, and then someone sits down and nudges your arm out of the way, and the women apologize for that. Or like one of the best ones is like, in bed, a man and a woman, and the man steals the covers and the woman apologizes, No. And then the second half of the commercial is the same scenes, but the woman not apologizing. So it's really powerful, very simple, everyday experiences that we all deal with. Yeah, that's a really fun one. It's a quick, and then people realize like, oh yeah, they do say sorry a lot, but it's more than just sorry. There are other undermining words that we don't even realize we're using.
The sorry is a word that I have been more conscious about recently, along with please. Please, that's another word that I'm learning to remove out of my language as well. When it comes to language, how do we grow in our self-awareness? Like, do you have tips on how we can become more self-aware with our language? Because that's another thing is how do we catch ourselves in the act?
Well, I always recommend getting a partner, like an accountability partner. But we're home right now. We're on Zoom all the time. Ask to record a session and then watch it back and watch yourself. So I have a client who did that. She was running a town hall meeting. She recorded it. And then we watched certain segments together of where she was presenting. And it was really impactful to watch it together and then say, okay, instead of saying XYZ, you could have said. And she said that was so helpful because it was in the moment. And she knew, okay, instead of me saying, so she had some habits she needed to break. So instead of saying those bad habits, then we had ideas, and I gave her some ideas. We brainstormed to figure out what was comfortable for her to replace those things. But so it's not just a matter of so the first thing is obviously recognizing it. Second, part is saying, okay, instead of saying, okay, you talk about the overuse of please, not that you and I are advocating to be rude and not have manners, but
Right.
please,
We
please,
overuse it.
yeah,
As women, yeah.
please let me know, please follow up, please. Like instead of saying that, say, please let me know where you have questions. Like that one drives me crazy. How about let me know where you need clarification?
Mm-hmm.
No one's looking for a please there. It's not necessary in that moment.
Right.
So understanding what I can replace it with becomes really helpful. And then I always recommend people just slow down, just take a breath, slow down so you recognize it. And when you hear it in yourself, like if you apologize, if you use a weak word like, oh, I'm just the one who presented the findings. I'm not the one who did the research, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you say something like that, you can stop yourself and say, let me rephrase that.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the report and I had a great team of researchers working with me. So you take credit initially, and then you can thank everyone else that worked with you or had a part in the project or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. In thinking about the fact that you have 2 teenagers at home, I'm thinking that there's some of you who are watching. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Veronica. We have some more people who join us. How do you talk to your children? As a parent, how do you get children to think about confidence and effectiveness in their communication, especially when language is so convenient and these acronyms and VR and OWMW.
Yeah.
How do you get them to care about language?
Well, it is hard
in
these
this
days.
way?
But I talk, especially, so we have a 17-year-old son, and it's a different conversation with him than it is with our 14-year-old daughter. And with her, since she's been a little girl, like we don't worry about her confidence.
That's good.
No one knows what to do, including the parents. And I love her for that. But one of the things I talk to her about is what she apologizes for. There are certain things you apologize for and certain things you do not. And I point it out all the time. I'm 99% sure she rolls her eyes when she hears it, which is okay. The message will land. Part of the reason I did the talk that I did was for her to hear that message. But also for our son, not to apologize, not to undermine himself, not to, I'm just doing this. Like, no, I know, right? And it's this balance of humility and confidence. And I think this will be a conversation that we have until they're 25 and longer, right?
Right.
Don't develop.
Right.
Yeah. It's a hard one though.
Yeah. I imagine. Yeah. I wonder. I think about the struggle that it might continue to be, or I wonder if there might be a move back towards an improvement in language. How sometimes the old school way becomes the cool way again.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
transition back that way.
Right.